My goodness, there is an absolute avalanche of news hitting Cleveland right now, and if you thought the offseason was going to be quiet, you were dead wrong. We are looking at a potential hiring that would not just change the franchise, but shatter NFL history records. We have massive staff departures, legal roadblocks preventing immediate hires, and a coaching search that has suddenly shifted into overdrive. There is so much happening that we need to take a deep breath and break it all down, because the future of the Cleveland Browns is being decided right this second. But before we dive into this absolute chaos, I need you to do one massive favor for me: smash that like button, hit subscribe, and share this with a fellow fan, because we are covering every single update daily and you do not want to miss what happens next. Let's get right into the headline that is sending shockwaves through the entire NFL. Adam Schefter has reported that the Browns have officially requested a second head coaching interview with Jaguars offensive coordinator Grant Yudinsky. Now, getting a second interview is standard, but the timeline here is what is terrifyingly exciting. Sources say Udinski interviewed virtually on Saturday, and the Browns were so blown away that by Sunday, less than 24 hours later, they were on the phone demanding he fly in for an in-person meeting. That is an almost immediate turnaround. It tells us there is serious heat here. But here is the part that stops you in your tracks: if Cleveland pulls the trigger on this hire, Grant Yudinsky would become the youngest head coach in NFL history at just 30 years old. 30 years old. I want you to really think about that for a second. We are talking about a head coach who is younger than some of the veterans he would be commanding in that locker room. It is a massive gamble. But you know who else was 30 when he got hired? Sean McVay. And that is exactly the comparison everyone is making. Is Grant Yudinsky the next Sean McVay? Is he the next offensive genius who can revolutionize a franchise? He has shadowed Kevin O'Connell, he has lived the life of a head coach during his prep work, and despite not calling plays yet, the buzz around him is deafening. Kevin O'Connell gave a quote about Yudinsky that you have to hear to believe. He said interviewing Grant was like interviewing a guy who could build a car from scratch for a job at a car wash. That is the kind of high-level praise that makes you sit up and pay attention. Suddenly, the betting markets have reacted to this news. Udinski is now the betting favorite at -150. He has leaped over experienced veterans and established names. It is a massive swing for the fences. It is risky, absolutely. It is terrifying, sure. But if you want to find the next great offensive mind, sometimes you have to take the leap before anyone else does. This leads me to a serious question, and I want you to be honest with me on this one. When you see a 30-year-old being listed as the favorite to lead this team, what is your gut reaction? Does it excite you to have fresh blood, or does the lack of experience make you nervous? I want you to comment just one word down below, either excited or nervous, that describes your feeling about Yudinsky potentially being the head coach. While the potential new head coach is incredibly young, the Browns are making moves to ensure the defense stays veteran-led. We have major confirmation regarding Jim Schwartz. He has officially locked in a second interview for the head coaching job. This is huge. We all saw what that defense did last year. It was the heartbeat of the team, the only reason we were competitive in so many games. The front office is clearly playing a game of 4D chess here. Reports suggest that they are telling all these young offensive candidates, "We want you, but there is a condition: you have to keep Jim Schwartz as your defensive coordinator." It is a slippery slope because usually, a head coach wants to bring in his own guys. He wants his own culture. But Schwartz is so valuable that the Browns are practically making him a requirement for the job. And honestly, if the new candidates don't agree to it, I truly believe the Browns will just promote Schwartz to head coach to ensure he doesn't leave the building. It is a win-win scenario for us fans. Either we get a young offensive guru who agrees to keep our elite defense intact, or we just hand the keys to the man who built that defense in the first place. Now, let's talk about the departures, because we are finally seeing some accountability. It looks like the Tommy Rees experiment is officially over. He is not expected to get a second interview, and reports suggest he is likely packing his bags to follow Kevin Stefanski down to Atlanta. Honestly? Best of luck to them. It clearly wasn't working here. But the best news of the day, and I mean the absolute best news, might be coming from Tom Pelissero. The Kansas City Chiefs are hiring Chad O'Shea as their wide receivers coach. Can we all just take a moment to thank Kansas City? Seriously, thank you. The decline we saw in the wide receiver room this past season was unacceptable. We watched key players regress. We watched Jerry Jeudy's production fall off a cliff. We need a fresh voice in that room, someone who can actually develop weapons, not watch them get worse. Losing O'Shea is not a loss for us, it is a massive opportunity for an upgrade. We need new energy, new drills, and a new philosophy for our pass catchers. But the coaching search isn't just about Udinski and Schwartz. We have movement on Todd Monken as well. The Ravens' offensive coordinator is in the building for a second interview on Tuesday. This is interesting because there is a bit of a drama unfolding here. Jim Harbaugh apparently wants to bring Monken with him to the New York Giants to form a superstaff, but Monken wants a head coaching gig. If Cleveland offers him the big chair, he is not going to go be an assistant in New York. He is a legitimate contender, and let's be real, poaching the offensive coordinator from a division rival like the Ravens would be a sweet little bonus. Then there is Mike McDaniel. He is back for a second interview as well. And we have to talk about the aura this man brings. Photos surfaced of him traveling to his interviews, and the man is just dripping with style. I'm talking matching suits, expensive watches, pure confidence. It begs the question about culture fit. Do we want that Miami-style swagger in Cleveland? It is a stark contrast to the blue-collar vibe we are used to, but maybe a culture shock is exactly what this organization needs to wake up. However, there is a catch to all of this excitement. A frustrating, legal catch. You might be wondering, if we love Udinski or if we love Schwartz, why haven't we announced it yet? Why are Atlanta and the Giants making moves while we wait? It comes down to the NFL rules and the playoffs. The Browns legally cannot make a hire yet. Under the Rooney Rule, the team must conduct 2 in-person interviews with external minority candidates. The virtual ones do not count for the final tally. Mike McDaniel helps satisfy one part of that requirement, but they need another. And here is where it gets really tricky. The Browns are heavily targeting Rams pass game coordinator Nate Scheelhaase. He is a hot name, a young offensive mind from the McVay tree, and a former quarterback. He checks every single box the Browns are looking for. But because the Rams just won and are advancing in the playoffs, Cleveland is blocked. We cannot interview Scheelhaase in person until after the NFC Championship game. That means we are stuck in a holding pattern until at least January 26th. So, here's the question of the day that I really want you guys to weigh in on. Is Nate Scheelhaase worth the wait? Are you willing to sit tight for another week, risk losing other candidates, and let other teams fill their vacancies just to get a shot at this guy? Or should the Browns just hire someone now and move on? Sound off in the comments because this waiting game is stressful and I want to know where you stand. Finally, do not sleep on the dark horse candidate in all of this, Jesse Minter. The Chargers' defensive coordinator is getting a second look. He is coming off a national championship run with Michigan, he has deep ties to the Harbaugh brothers, and he is being called the hottest candidate by executives around the league. While everyone is looking at a fence, Minter is quietly rising up the board. If the Browns decide to zig while everyone else zags, Minter could be the guy who brings a hard-nosed, championship pedigree to the sideline. So, let's recap the absolute madness we are dealing with. We have a 30-year-old offensive prodigy as the favorite, which would be a historic gamble. We have the architect of our elite defense potentially getting a promotion or being forced into a marriage with a new coach. We have a legal waiting game involving the Rams and the Rooney Rule that is stalling the process. And we have a purge of the offensive staff that underperformed last year, giving us hope for a fresh start. There are currently 6 candidates moving on to the final round. The next week is going to define the next decade of Cleveland football. I will be tracking every single flight, every rumor, and every interview. We are not sleeping until this decision is made. Make sure you are subscribed because the moment the news drops, we will be live to break it all down. Let me know your top pick in the comments, and I will see you in the next update.